Once again, the Queen of Consorts surprises us, but not in a good way.
You're looking at Buckingham Palace right now, the same gates that have opened for coronations, funerals and weddings for centuries. But this morning, something different is happening behind those walls, and nobody outside the palace saw it coming. For years, King Charles has controlled every detail of what the public gets to see. Every statement, every photograph, every royal engagement has passed through careful palace planning. So when a stunning announcement about Queen Camilla's future suddenly surfaced, it caught even seasoned royal watchers completely off guard. Was this the result of a long-simmering family rift finally boiling over, a calculated move to protect the monarchy's image, or the opening chapter of something far bigger than anyone expected? Stick with us, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what sources say is unfolding inside the House of Windsor. And if you have a theory of your own, drop it in the comments below. We read every single one. If you want more of this the moment it breaks, hit subscribe now. To understand how shocking this moment really is, you have to look back at the handful of times the British monarchy has been shaken to its core. Some crises hit like lightning. Others crept in slowly before exploding into the headlines, but every single one changed the royal family forever. Go back to 1936, when a sitting king stunned the entire Commonwealth by walking away from the crown itself, choosing love over duty in a decision that rewrote the rules of royal life for generations. Fast forward to 1992, when the marriage everyone believed was a fairy tale, Charles and Diana collapsed publicly, piece by painful piece, in front of the entire world, shaking public faith in the institution itself. Then came September 2022, when Queen Elizabeth II passed away after 70 remarkable years on the throne, an ending that brought the country to a complete standstill, with flags lowered and crowds gathering in silence to mark the close of an era few alive had ever known without her. Each of those moments arrived like a storm, loud, sudden, and impossible to ignore. What's reportedly happening with Camilla right now feels nothing like that. There have been no emergency broadcasts, no crowds outside the palace gates, no dramatic royal address. Instead, according to sources close to palace operations, this has unfolded almost silently through quiet internal memos and carefully worded statements released with barely a whisper. But piece it together and the picture becomes hard to ignore. Camilla, who stood beside Charles through his coronation, who has represented the crown at state dinners, remembrance events and diplomatic functions around the globe, is said to be stepping back from a significant portion of those very public duties. Not on a temporary basis, according to insiders, but as part of what several sources are describing as a deeper, more permanent restructuring of her role within the monarchy. And reportedly, there's only one person with the authority to approve a shift like that, the king himself. Which raises the obvious question echoing across Britain right now. Why would Charles quietly step back, the very woman he spent decades fighting to be with? To understand that, sources suggest you need to go back several weeks to a quiet, unremarkable seeming afternoon inside Windsor Castle, where something small reportedly set an enormous chain of events into motion. On the surface, it looked like nothing more than routine preparation for an upcoming investiture. Senior royals and a handful of trusted aides had gathered to finalize logistics, and King Charles had personally signed off on the seating arrangement in advance. One seat, positioned closest to the ceremonial focal point, had reportedly been designated for Catherine, Princess of Wales. According to accounts from palace staff, however, Camilla arrived early and took that very seat before the room had fully filled. When Catherine walked in moments later and noticed the arrangement had changed, she reportedly said nothing, quietly choosing a different seat instead. Word of the moment allegedly made its way back to Charles, who is said to have requested a private conversation with Camilla shortly after. It's important to stress none of this has been confirmed by the palace, and accounts of exactly what was said remain unverified, circulating only through sources described as close to the family. So what does this say about the relationship between Camilla and Catherine? According to several royal commentators, any friction between the two women may simply reflect a much larger shift happening inside the monarchy as it prepares for its next generation of leadership. Camilla's path to public acceptance was famously difficult, and some observers believe she has, at times, found it challenging to watch responsibilities and public affection increasingly flow toward Catherine. Other sources paint a far warmer picture, insisting the two have maintained a respectful, even friendly relationship behind closed doors. As with much of this story, the truth likely sits somewhere between the rumors. Now here's where things get interesting. According to insiders, the private conversation between Charles and Camilla went further than anyone initially reported. Charles is said to have asked her directly whether she'd known the seat was meant for Catherine. Camilla, sources claim, admitted that she had. In that same conversation, she reportedly opened up about a quiet fear that she was gradually fading from public relevance as Catherine's popularity continued to climb. Charles, according to those same sources, reminded her that the crown was never meant to safeguard anyone's personal comfort. Whether or not every detail of this exchange is accurate remains unclear, but what happened next is not in dispute. Changes to Camilla's public role were already being drawn up. To understand why any of this matters, it helps to remember exactly how far Camilla has come. She and Charles first crossed paths in the early 1970s, and their relationship became one of the most talked about controversies in modern royal history. Decades later, in 2005, she married Charles and became Duchess of Cornwall, gradually building a public reputation through consistent charity work. In 2022, Queen Elizabeth II publicly stated her wish that Camilla be known as Queen Consort once Charles took the throne. Following the coronation in May 2023, that wish became reality, and she has been known as Queen Camilla ever since. These are the plain, verifiable facts. Everything else in this story remains, at this stage, speculation and insider claim. So what happened after that private conversation at Windsor? According to sources, Charles summoned Prince William, Princess Catherine, Princess Anne, and Prince Edward for what's been described as a serious constitutional discussion about reshaping Camilla's responsibilities going forward. Catherine, insiders say, was reportedly uneasy about the timing, not wanting to appear as though she were benefiting from someone else's setback. Princess Anne, known for her strict sense of duty, is said to have argued that the same standards must apply to everyone in the family, regardless of position. Charles, according to these accounts, ultimately approved the restructuring and reportedly told William that a future monarch can never let personal loyalty outweigh constitutional responsibility. From there, sources describe what can only be called a quiet unraveling. Camilla's public schedule was reportedly cleared. Her office belongings were said to be packed away. Organizations she'd long supported were reportedly informed that future engagements would shift toward Catherine and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh. And then, according to insiders, Charles sent a short handwritten note asking Camilla to meet him privately at dawn, a detail that, if true, suggests this story is far from over. Meanwhile, Catherine's own standing with the British public has only grown stronger. Following criticism over how the palace communicated during her medical absence in 2024, public sympathy shifted dramatically after she shared her cancer diagnosis directly with the public in a calm, deeply personal video message. A YouGov survey conducted afterward found that most Britons felt the palace had handled the disclosure with an appropriate level of openness. Royal biographers, including Katie Nicholl, have since described Catherine as more prepared than ever for her future role, balancing official duties with raising Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, while transforming from a once nervous newcomer into one of the most respected figures in the entire family. According to the final piece of this story circulating among insiders, Camilla and Charles met privately once more, this time in a quiet garden room away from staff and cameras. Camilla is said to have asked him plainly whether this was happening because she had somehow failed the monarchy. Charles reportedly told her his feelings for her hadn't changed, but that love and duty don't always walk the same road. Camilla, sources say, admitted her deepest fear was simply being forgotten. The conversation reportedly ended with a small, symbolic gesture of reconciliation between them. And when the royal family next appeared together in public, several observers noted that Camilla stood slightly further from the centre of the frame than usual, leaving many in Britain to wonder whether the king had quietly chosen duty over devotion. None of these private details have been confirmed by Buckingham Palace, and much of this story remains by nature speculation from sources close to the family rather than official record. So now it's your turn. Do you believe King Charles made the right call here? And do you think Catherine is truly ready to step further into the spotlight? Let us know exactly what you think in the comments below, and if you want to be the first to know when this story develops further, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel.